All right, it is 3 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are doing children's management, our classroom management in children's ministry. So if you are not looking for that session, grab your paperwork and find out which session that you are wanting to go to and move on. But I just want to say good morning to everybody, or good afternoon rather. It's a true honor to be here with so many fellow children's ministers and people who are like-minded and who have the same passions that you do. And I want to remind us of a great and incredible privilege that each one of us have. You and I are shaping the futures for the next church. And the next church is literally sitting in our classrooms right now. And so we have an awesome job. I know Brother Booker said it just a while ago, but we are indeed not babysitters. But we have the responsibility of raising up the next generation of apostolics. And so I want to say thank you for everything that you do. But today I'm going to be walking you through some principles. I'm going to be walking you through some of the tips and tricks, and maybe even some of the things that we've done wrong in Union City that have helped us create an effective classroom management system, and how possibly you can use these tools to foster a safe and spiritually enriching environment in your own. So by the show of hands, who in here is actually Sunday school teachers or helpers? So just about everybody that's in here? Awesome. So I want to start real quick with the foundation of how we do things in Union City. And we don't do everything right. It's still a work in progress for us. I'm sure if I were to ask you, you would say the same thing about your own children's ministries, regardless of what that looks like. It's continuously a learning process for us. But I want to start with the foundations for us, and I want to start with our team. In our classrooms, we try to keep 3 teachers at all times in our classrooms. And I know that may sound like a lot for some of you, depending on the size of your church and the size of your facilities. But for us, we keep a male and a female at least at all times in a room. It works for us because a lot of times the male is seen as the authoritarian and the woman is seen as the nurturer. And so when we keep at least one of each in our classrooms at all times, we've noticed that the kids actually act a little bit better. Not much, just a little bit better. But the reason we keep 3 is for safety, accountability, and balanced leadership. It's important for us, as I already mentioned, to have one of each whenever possible. Why? Because children thrive when they see a team working together. It helps us to model unity and cooperation. Plus, with 3 teachers, there's at least always one teacher in the room with the kids at all times. We try to keep 2 at all times for safety's sake. Because if you were in my last session, cancel culture is a real thing. And all it takes is for one kid to say one thing negative. I didn't feel comfortable with XYZ teacher, and now all of a sudden we're getting questioned. It's 2025, let's be real. That's all it takes is one accusation. But we try to keep 2 in the classrooms at all times, and that third one floats for us. If any of y'all are doing the ACTS curriculum now, it's actually completely reshaped our entire classroom in the way that we've done things, and we rotate teachers in and out. And it's nice to do that because the kids don't get used to one monotone voice talking the entire time while they're teaching, and it helps the kids to see a fresh face. About every 10 to 15 minutes, they get a fresh face, and all of a sudden they're paying attention, and we've noticed it actually helps their attention span some. But it allows one teacher, whether male or female, to walk out into the hallway with these kids whenever they're using the restroom. The way our Sunday school classes are set up is we're down one long hallway and we have bathrooms in the middle. And we usually keep a hall monitor that sits at the corner that can see both the male restroom and the female restroom. And then we also have the teacher that walks out of the classroom with these kids that stand at the door of the bathroom, that the hall monitor can still see them. They can still see the hall monitor, but they can also keep an eye on what's going on inside the bathroom so these kids aren't destroying our property, because they will quick, fast, and in a heartbeat. So safety is an area that we cannot take lightly at all. There's been an uptick on church shootings. And so we actually have a whole security team that peruses our campus. Yes, Lord? That peruses our campus. They walk through, and we keep every door, including our classroom doors, locked. All of them. That includes the doors getting into our facility and the doors going out to our facility. You can push the door to get out, but every single entrance of our building is locked. We have a completely separate facility for our Sunday school rooms now than we used to be in one building. God blessed us with a brand new building. We're about to outgrow it. We're getting ready to have to build another one, and we just got in this one 2 years ago. But we have a whole separate facility for Sunday school, and every door remains locked at all times. And that is simply for safety's sake, because we don't know who's walking in and out of our doors. Someone shows up and says, hey, I'm here to pick my kid up. I don't know them from Adam. So we have to be very cognizant of safety. So here's some of the things that we do is children never go to the restroom alone. Girls are escorted by a female teacher. Boys are escorted by a male teacher, and they remain visible at all times to the hall monitors. By having 3 teachers in our room, we make sure that there is always at least 2 adults with the children, even if one teacher needs to step out for a moment. And this is simple, but it is effective how it works, and it keeps everybody accountable, including our children as well as our teachers, and it keeps safety for both our children and our teachers. We also, as I mentioned, we have a security detail that walks through. That includes our main sanctuary as well as our Sunday school facility, and it's simply to make sure that everybody's covered, everybody's safe. Nobody, I shouldn't have to worry about a random person walking in and taking a child. Having locked doors prevents that. Having security at all the entrances prevents that. For us, the way that we do things in Union City is we try to allow our teachers to get a little bit of Jesus in them as well. So we have, in my Sunday school room, I am actually not the head teacher. I actually am one of the helpers that rotate in and out. My wife happens to be the head teacher in her Sunday school room. But we rotate teachers out to where they can at least have one service a month in big churches, we call it. And it's simply so that they don't become burnt out. We have enough teachers that one service a month, they can go sit in the main sanctuary and they can be spiritually fed as well. And some of us like it, some of us hate it because we want to be with our kids. We've developed such a relationship with our kids, we want to be with our kids. But it is important for us as teachers also that we get a little bit of Jesus in us. And so something that is often overlooked is volunteer care. We understand that ministry can be draining. It can become easy to become burnt out when you're the only person that's doing this day in and day out. Every single Sunday, you're the only person that's pouring out to these children. And so we developed a team to where that wouldn't happen. Our volunteers are our greatest assets, and by ensuring that they are spiritually healthy, we can keep them engaged and passionate about the work. After all, children respond better when they see their teachers being spiritually refreshed and engaged themselves. I can't expect little Johnny to get something from God if I myself am not getting something from God. And that is nothing harder than trying to pour out of an empty container. You're just not going to get anything out of it. So it is important as us as teachers to realize you and I are Christians first. Before I'm a Sunday school teacher, I'm a Christian. Before I'm a bus worker, I'm a Christian. Before I'm a children's minister, I am a Christian. And I have to keep myself in check. I have to keep myself actively engaged and filling my vessel back up, because I cannot pour out of an empty vessel. So you and I challenge us to stay spiritually engaged, regardless of what that looks like. A lot of people don't have enough facility or staff to rotate out, and I understand that, and I'm praying for the day that you do get to that place. One of the most crucial and critical aspect of classroom management is discipline. Discipline's a hard one because we are disciplining other people's children. If it's my kid, I'm going to whip that tail. Right? And I often tell my kids, you belong to me, I'll spank you. But we can't do that for some reason to the kids that are riding our buses. People just don't like it. But our goal of discipline should not be to punish the children, but it should be to correct the children with love and guide them towards positive behavior. We need to keep our children engaged in worship and in learning, and that's where our structure in Union City comes from. We break our discipline into 3 simple steps. Number 1, in-class correction. Little Johnny's acting out and he's talking, hey, teacher's teaching, you need to listen. That's it. Sometimes that's all it takes. You just call him out, hey bro, I need you to stop, I need you to focus, all right? I don't want to talk over you, I need you to focus right now, all right? We're teaching, thank you. I appreciate that. And just go on. And if that doesn't fix it, we go on to step number 2. Now you're going to stand out in the hallway and we're going to have a conversation. Because if I become so focused, what's your name? What's your name? You're what? Wyatt. If I become so focused on Wyatt, I have this whole room full of kids, and the only person that I'm going to see and the only person I'm going to address is Wyatt. What is happening to the rest of my classroom? Who's engaged with them? Who is teaching them? Because I, as a teacher, have now focused my entire attention on this knucklehead who's not listening. Sorry, Wyatt. Instead, Wyatt, I need you to step out in the hallway. You're now going to have a conversation with our principal or our vice principal. And so Brother Eric Williams will come. He'll be like, hey, what's going on? Why are you standing out in the hallway? Why aren't you listening? They've given you the opportunity. They've already corrected you once in class. Now you're out here talking to me. And a lot of times what that does is number 1, that teacher is now separated from being the bad guy, right? Someone else is being the bad guy. That's Brother Eric Williams. My job as a teacher is there to nourish and nurture them spiritually. But if I become seen as the quote-unquote bad guy only, they're not going to come to my classroom. I'm not the fun guy. I'm the guy that's sit down, shut up. You know, no. I'm sorry, but that's not the way it works. Your classroom should be engaging. Your classroom is going to be noisy. You have kids in there. That's awesome. When you walk into a church and you don't hear a baby crying, there's no growth. When you walk into a church and at least somebody isn't running or somebody isn't hollering or somebody, if you walk into a church that is quiet like that, they probably do not have a thriving bus ministry. Because a lot of your bus ministry kids that are riding your buses are absolute heathens, and they're not corrected at home. There's no discipline at home. They're allowed to run rampant. They're allowed to run wild, and they're bringing that into the church. And so you and I, yes, we must have discipline, but we also have to realize that these are kids we're dealing with. And they're learning just like you are. They're learning the boundaries. And I promise you, these kids will do their best to push the boundaries and to find out, where is this boundary set, and are you going to hold this boundary? And when you do, kids need that structure. Believe it or not, they're longing for that structure. And when we can give it to them, church becomes a safe place to them. But if our issue isn't resolved by stepping out in the hallway to talk with the principal and or vice principal, they now get to go sit with our principal in big church. And they get to stay over there for the remainder of the service, because I'm not allowing one kid to disrupt the entire rest of my class. I'm sorry, I love you, but you're not listening today, so today we're going to go sit in big church. And so they go sit with Brother Brandon Uzzle or Brother Eric Williams, depending on who's in there. And if this still does not resolve the issue, they are going to be asked to be suspended for a week or 2 until we can correct our behavior. Now, I will say fights is an automatic suspension for us. If you're hitting somebody else, I'm sorry, that's an automatic suspension. You're going home right now, as a matter of fact, and we're going to have a conversation with the guardian in your life. But why does this work? Having dedicated leaders to handle discipline allows the teacher to focus on teaching and spiritual leadership within the classroom. This also helps the children see the principal or vice principal as a consistent authority figure, and this reduces the chance of a teacher being viewed as the bad guy. Because when you become the bad guy, nobody wants to be around the bad guy. Sorry. It's very dry here in California, by the way. Back home we're used to humidity, so my vocal cords are getting stripped fast. But grace and understanding and discipline. While we follow a structure, we also try to do our best to lead with compassion. and this is kind of my candy stick right here, because we recognize that a lot of the behavioral issues stem from emotional or environmental struggles. A lot of the kids that are in your classroom right now, mom or dad are probably in jail. They're being raised by grandpa and grandma. Now, my story is I come from a very broken home. I was raised in church. Dad and mom got divorced when I was 7. I was a PK before that. So I know what it's like to be from one home to another, 2 different rules, 2 different sets of regulations, church, no church. I understand what that's like. I know what that feels like. So I kind of have, I think, a little more compassion for these kids because I understand a lot of their stories and when they're coming from. But if y'all listen to my podcast, I'm not trying to throw a plug out there, but it's the second time I said it today, so maybe I am. But the Apostolic Children's Network podcast, my wife and I sat down and we talked about seeing judgment from mercy's point of view. And we began to talk about the sons of Korah and how the Bible says that Korah was swallowed, but his sons were spared. They died not. And you know what they became? They literally became the door greeters of the church. Because when you realize I should have been in the same place that my daddy is, I should be in the same place of this person, but God spared me, all of a sudden I begin to look at judgment just a little bit differently because I've experienced mercy when I should have experienced judgment. And when you and I can do that as Sunday school teachers and have just a little bit of compassion on little Johnny, because we do not know. I'm telling you, one of the toughest times for us that we have noticed is Mother's Day and Father's Day. Because the majority of our kids that are in our Sunday school rooms right now, they are all kids that we pick up on our buses. And a story, we were writing cards. Father's Day, we were writing cards to our fathers in our Sunday school room, and this kid was bawling his eyes out. I'm talking, he was crying so hard his body was shaking, and he couldn't hardly breathe. He was hyperventilating. And so we took it out in the hallway and like, yo, what's wrong? He said, my daddy just went to jail last night, and I'm not going to get to see him for the next 6 years. Ugh. You want to talk about a gut punch to Brother Bradshaw. Because he was acting out, and you know, the old saying, the squeaky wheel's the one that gets the grease, right? Well, if they're acting out, I'm already predisposed a lot of times. He's going to cause problems today. And I could pass the mic to you right now. If you were in Sunday school, you have that kid. You could say their name. You know what they look like. You could put the image in your head right now of the kid I'm talking about. I see smiling faces and nodding heads. I'm telling you the truth. We all have that kid. But have you as a teacher taken time to try to understand why it is that way? Why is that kid acting like that? What's going on at home? What's going on at school? What's going on at church? What was their bus ride like? It's a continuity from the time that they get on your bus to the time they step off your bus. It's a continual, there should be continuity all the way through from, hey, I'm so glad to see you this morning, till you get in there to that teacher who fought with her husband on the way to church today. They went to go get their favorite coffee, and they spilt it on their blouse, or they spilt it on their shirt. They had a flat tire on the way to church. And you and I, yes, we are human, and we are predisposed to our attitude spilling over onto our kids. Because I've had a bad day. I should not push that upon my children who are there to be spiritually ministered to. And so you and I as teachers have to keep ourselves in check. Keep your attitude in check. Keep your spirit in check. Keep the way that you are dealing with these kids in check, and realize that it is not their fault that you had a bad morning today. Because when you start taking it out on those children, they do not want to be in your classroom. But when you can begin to see judgment from mercy's point of view, why is this child acting out? All of a sudden, instead of simply punishing them, you begin to work towards ministering to them, even through discipleship. You begin to minister to that child's need, that child's brokenness, that child's wants. Yes, even through discipline. Discipline, when done in love, is not correcting behavior, but it is guiding them towards God's grace and understanding. Hey, I don't know what's going on with you today. I don't know why we're acting this way. I don't know what's going on at home. But I want you to know Jesus loves you and I love you, but we can't act this way. Do it with love. I'm not there to prove that I'm right as a teacher. I'm there to help them get right. And so for me to be like, you're going to do it my way or the highway, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for these kids. But when I can lead them and guide them to that correct behavior, hey, let's not do it that way. Let's do it this way. And show them the right way. And do it with compassion. Do it with grace. Do it with love. And watch as their attitude begins to change. We have this kid, and I'm not going to say his name. We have this kid in church. He is very obviously a leader, a ringleader, if you know what I mean. He continuously has... all of the bad kids seem to flock to the bad kids. What was it? Birds of a feather flock together. So we got this knucklehead of a kid. I love him to death because he's a challenge. But he can be a knucklehead. He came to church and, man, he was wild. I'm talking just wild. Just, whoa. But I began to make him my friend. I began to make him my project, if you will. And I began to say, God, help me to understand where this kid's coming from. And I begin to learn his story and the brokenness that is in his life. And the fact that he's being raised by grandma because of the things that mom and dad had done to him and the things that had happened in his life. And we had this one particular service. It was children's service, and he was acting out. I'm talking, the devil was on this kid. You couldn't convince me any otherwise. I went to him, and I said, hey, can you help me? Can you help me with my object lesson today? And I brought him up on the platform with me, acting out. Yes, he was. But I made him part of my lesson. And I said, I need you to do this for me. And I gave him a job. And all of those that were in his ring were still sitting out on the pew. And here I am trying to teach, and I'm using him with my object lesson, and I'm using him, and he began to correct the kid's behavior for doing the exact same thing that he was just doing not even 5 minutes ago. Hey, Brother Bradshaw's teaching. Y'all need to listen. And you know what? It worked. Those kids started listening. And so I was like, whoa, hey, I might be onto something here. And so the very next children's church, I just went ahead and asked them to help me. Hey, can you help me today? We weren't even children's church yet. Yeah, I'd love to help you today. I didn't have a single problem out of that kid the entire service. And guess what? I also didn't have a single problem out of his ring, the ones that follow him, because I recruited him to be on my side. Now, if I didn't have that wisdom, if I didn't have that aha moment when that happened, I could sit there all day long and, Wyatt, you better stop. Wyatt, sit down. Wyatt, you're this. Wyatt, you know what? Just get out of here. And you know what? That would never correct Wyatt's behavior. Instead, that's going to make Wyatt hate me as a teacher. He's no fun. All he ever does is get on to me. I don't like him because all he ever does is down me. When I can get away from that and I can recruit Wyatt to be on my side, Wyatt's going to recruit everybody that's around him to be on my side as well. And I'm only doing it to one person. So now the 7 people that are following him, I didn't have to get onto a single 7 of them. I got onto one. And the rest of them just lined up in line. So find your ringleaders, find those that are causing you the most problem, and try to get them to be your friend. Get them on your side, and watch as they begin to defend you to the very ones that they were just doing the exact same thing with. It's kind of cool to see. But a big thing there in Union City that we do is I have created and I'm not plugging myself or patting myself on the back, but I have created a badge system for our students. And each one of our classrooms is a different color. My classroom is yellow. My wife's classroom is red. And are we out of time, Brother Baker? Okay. I think I set a timer. But I created a badge system using Google Sheets. I have every single name of every single student, every single photo of every single student's birthday, and I have it in a Google document. And on the back end, I have it to where I can just plug this in and hit one button, and it'll generate every single badge for every single student that's in our our Sunday school program. And then I can scan that badge, that QR code with my cell phone, and I can check that kid in and out. I can give them points. I can do whatever. It's amazing. But this helps us to maintain order and safety, especially during our transitions, because I can look at you and I can tell by the color of your lanyard, ooh, you don't belong in my class. You belong in Sister Carrie's class. You belong in Sister Bradshaw's class, simply by looking at that child. We also use this as a positive reward system. We have a store set up just like what Brother Booker has here. Except for dollars, we actually use the QR system, scan it with our cell phones, and I can give you points based off of your behavior today. I can give you points based off of whether or not you brought a friend, a Bible, or whatever. You can put it in there. But at the end of each quarter, our students can redeem these points in our classroom store for prizes, toys, and candy, etc. But whether you have 20 kids or 500, this system can be scaled to you. You've got to make it yours, though. What we do in Union City might not work for you. Find what does and use it. So, final thoughts really fast. Classroom management isn't about enforcing rules. It's about creating a space where children feel safe, loved, and able to grow spiritually. The systems we put in place allow us to focus on what really matters, and that's helping kids develop a relationship with God. One final thought that I will leave with you right here is discipline without relationship will always lead to rebellion. We must have a relationship with every single one of the kids that comes through our doors. Discipline is most effective when it is built on a foundation of love, of trust, and relationship. When children know that we care about them, that we see them more than just a problem to correct, our discipline will become a tool for growth, not just for correction. So I want to challenge you, take the time to reflect on your approach to discipline and leadership. See every child through God's eyes with grace and compassion. Embrace your role not just as a teacher, but as a spiritual leader. You are shaping the future of the next church. Remember the importance of relationship above all else. Know your kids by name. Build those connections and watch how they grow spiritually in ways that will blow your mind. I want to say thank you to each one of you for the work that you're putting in for the kingdom of God. It is so important what we do because you and I have the responsibility of building the next church. Thank you all.